easier. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, we have the recording going. So what we're talking about today is subconscious mind and just ways to alleviate stress from the subconscious. So thoughts, ideas, emotions, past issues, right? Your traumas, whatever. It's all kind of the same stuff when you really start playing with this, because what we're really working with is frequencies, right? Frequencies of emotion, frequencies and ideas, frequencies and thought forms. So kind of hold that aside for just a second, because when we, as people, actually look at this stuff and we start to try and work with it, it becomes tangible, right? We make it tangible with our awareness, and that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to make it tangible and hold it there. And Melissa's already running to the side with this one. And it still can be cleared even if it is AI. So let me go backwards for 2 seconds. Melissa had asked earlier, would anything that has form be part of the construct? So I want to just catch up for 2 seconds and answer this question. As far as I'm concerned, yes. So for those of you that don't know what the construct is, what she's talking about, it's another way of saying this field of engagement that we're in, called the construct by some people. So anything that has form would be anything tangible. Anything that is matter is form. And if anything that has form, so what she's asking, would anything that has form be part of the construct? I would have to say yes. If it's here in this plane of existence in the form of matter, it's part of this construct for whatever purpose, right? You thought about it, you felt it, it was created because of your feelings and thoughts. We're talking about the subconscious, and Melissa and I have obviously talked about this before. I thought our subconscious was AI and part of the construct. As far as I'm concerned, yes. We are not to that point yet, but I will already say yes to that. And when you start to figure this out, and it's all in the form of frequency, it's all in the form of the vibrational aspect of how all this is made, it is all part of the construct. And AI meaning it's the program. What is the program? Where did it come from? Who created it, right? Another huge rabbit hole we could dive down, but we're not going to go down that just yet. Let's stick inside our own little local subconscious minds and work from that place. But keep in mind that it is all vibrational. It's all frequency related, and it is all part of this, right? If it's in the quote unquote subconscious mind, it is part of the construct, which means it could be AI. So let's first of all ask the question, what is the subconscious mind? Because what we've been told, it is an aspect of consciousness where there's a conscious part of us. And if you've ever seen the iceberg thing, right, there's a layer of water or the plane of water, and the little bit of iceberg floating on the top, and then the huge iceberg floating underneath. And that huge iceberg is your subconscious mind, supposedly. So most of your thinking, what they're trying to say is most of your thinking comes out of your subconscious. The whole concept was a theory. It was never even proven to be true. And what I hear a lot of times from people, and it came from Freud, which is another bullet in the theory in my head, is if you talk to a lot of people, a lot of things that I hear people saying about, you know, this is subconscious, I have this subconscious issue, and then they'll tell you all about it. That's not subconscious, according to the concept of the subconscious. That would be conscious. You're conscious of it. You're aware you're doing this. You're aware you're feeling this. You might not know where it comes from. So there could be an aspect of it that's subconscious, but the fact that you know something about it means that it's conscious. Another thing with the subconscious construct idea is that you can take anything from your subconscious and bring it to your consciousness. If you focused on, if you had a little something with like a little something in there that you're just like, what is this agitation, this feeling, this and you just focused on that, you would start to get more information on it. It's that little bit of something that you can bring from the subconscious into the conscious, and all of a sudden it just opens up and you're like, oh, I never realized, right? From my little 3-year-old going through this issue, right? And there it is. So hold that in the back pocket for a second also. So there's that part of it. I tend to throw the subconscious out with the bathwater, because it was like so many things. It was just an idea that somebody took, somebody wrote about it, somebody else wrote about it, and then they attached their writing to somebody else's writing, and that goes on and on and on, and all of a sudden it's like truth. And it just isn't. It isn't truth. Is there a subconscious mind? What if there's not? What if everything that has been in your field you have access to and still have access to? Maybe you're just choosing not to. I have chosen for years to not have access to my childhood. And I state it by saying, I don't remember my childhood. Probably 13-year-old and down, I got nothing. You can go backwards through all my YouTube videos and hear me saying that all over the place. And literally one day somebody pointed out to me, that's a choice. And I was like, oh no, don't put your finger on me. So think about that for a second. It's all right. Do you choose to keep it in your subconscious, or do you want to elevate and open your consciousness away from the physical nature, away from the matter nature, out of the AI system, so to speak, to a different level, by recognizing you have access to all of the information from everything that you could ever need, if you would just choose to allow yourself to believe that way. Believe is another word that I'm really struggling with lately. To believe that way, or to recognize that your inner self, your true self, is actually already known to all of this stuff. You already have all this information, right? We're just accessing the wrong part to get to it. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions on any of that so far? I don't want to go too fast. Okay. So one of the things that, in doing all of this, I'm going to give you a couple of little things to kind of work with, and then we're going to actually use some of the techniques. The first thing I would tell you is figure out how you identify yourself in the physical, in the spiritual, in higher consciousness, in lower consciousness. And I would get something and I would write these things down. I would literally just start writing down your identities. Your identity in the physical relates to your ego self. The ego and identity are very, very closely related. If you stop believing, or stop, right? People talk about the ego death kind of idea. If you try to kill the ego or stop the ego, you're literally stopping your identities. If you stop believing in your identity, you have to start utilizing that other part of you, that inner part of you, as a form of identity, right? In this plane of existence, and I don't know how it works on the other side necessarily, but you have to have some way to bring yourself forward. So a lot of times what has happened is people will go using all these techniques, and all these Psych-K is just a good example, to get rid of their subconscious issues, which relate to their ego and their identity. And they unplug all of this stuff without plugging anything back in that will give them the needed emphasis on what they truly are in order to maintain some kind of life. Does that make sense? What I have noticed in helping and working with people for such a long time is, how do I want to say this? Is when you lose your identity, when you lose yourself from the matter, and you don't put anything back into it. You don't give any information back into it as far as like redefining yourself. You will go sideways hard, right? I think last week we were talking about not having any motivation. We talk a lot about, like, I just don't want to do this anymore. People who show up saying, like, I want to use the word suicide, but I don't want to kill myself. I just don't want to be here anymore. You have lost some of your identities in the physical nature and not plugged something back into it that you can hold on to. Does that make sense? You've not given yourself anything to lean back into. So all the ways you identify in this reality, from the matter side of it, the ego identity kind of idea, is basically what we're trying to get rid of. In a literal sense, while we're getting to know our spirit, it happens at the same time. And then utilizing the information of the spirit as this new person to keep walking out this life. All right, does that make sense? The next thing I would tell you, so that was kind of number one on that end of it, is learn how to take off labels. Learn how to take off labels. Everything that you label. Label and judgment seem to go hand in hand. Anytime you label something, you are judging that something. Label anything. It doesn't matter, even like the simplest of labels, right? Like I'm walking down the street and I see a tree and I call the tree a tree. I've just labeled it. I've just judged it as a tree. In this strange world that we live in, I call that thing a tree and I give it identity and matter as a tree. And I ask myself, what if it's not? I ask myself now, what if it's not? What if it's not my concept of a tree? And there's something else there that I'm missing because I labeled it. Now, if we do this with people, right, we get into racism and criticism and, right, the really judgmental stuff that we view really harshly, but it's no different across the board. It seems to be, it does the same thing to you internally, and it literally blocks you from going deeper. Judgments and labeling will block you from going deeper. They will stop you in your tracks. So I would say, I mean, take off the labels, right? I walk around practicing unlabeling things all the time, just going through life, seeing things, right, the tangible around you without assessing a name to it or a label to it. Interesting practice. And do it for yourself. You won't find out anything until you start doing it for yourself. You can ask yourself about questions about the label. So things like, what was the label for? Find out when you use it, when you tend to use the label, right? How often do you use that label? And what it will do is start giving you information back into the system as to where it came from. Once you know where it came from, it's easy to get rid of. In this world, like if I want a cup of coffee, I have to label cup and I have to label coffee. Right? So there's things that we have to, because of the way this system works, at some point label, but to play the game of not labeling it changes the nature of the reality around you. If you don't journal, and I'm a horrible journaler, this is literally my journaling. I have cards all over the place that I've written things on, and then I hold them and I ask spirit, do I need any of this? And if I hear a no, I throw it all out. That's my form of journaling. But I would say if you are a journaler, write down your labels, write down your identities, figure out who you are and who you're not, write down your labels. What am I labeling that's causing issues in my physical system? Because some of the labels don't cause an issue. To call this a coffee cup and this coffee doesn't really cause me an issue. It might cause somebody else an issue, but it doesn't cause me one. Write them down and become aware of them and start to watch when you use them, how you used it, even why you used it. Why did it come out of your mouth? Okay, so two things now. Identity, start to really get to know who you are by your identities, by how you talk to yourself and label yourself, right? Again, labels, your identities are labels. And then start to become aware of your labels and take them off and see how they work. Melissa said, is this like assessing the field? All of this would be. assessing the feeling. The labels you identify as in the construct. Yeah, in the construct and out. What are you identifying outside of the construct, and how are you labeling it, and how do you know? Interesting game to play. I just now had a young man literally send me a little video of his kittens, his little cats, in his back room. It really has nothing in it but a cat tree and some yarn balls and some cat toys. And they were literally following something through the air, like watching it, and then jumping up. They were jumping up in the air trying to get whatever it was. And this was on his, like one of his cameras he has that is in his house to watch stuff. And he sent me this video and he goes, "What is that?" What is that? Labeling it that. I'm like, I don't know. What do you think it is? What were they talking to? What were they looking? Because you could hear them meowing. They were just chirping at this thing. What's in your house? Out of the construct, right? Was that in the construct because it was here, or was it from something from out of the construct? If you don't label it, you can see it clearer. Does that make any sense? If you don't label it, you just sit there and observe, you tend to get a better idea. Okay. One of the things we're going to walk through in clearing the subconscious is recognizing the feeling to the thing you're having an issue with. Because a lot of times you don't have a thought form to it, which is why they call it subconscious. You don't really think about it. You just always get this feeling, and then something happens. Okay, Philip just caught my eye over here. Since ancient Egypt, cats have been believed to see spirits and intangible phenomena. Yes, it's kind of where I went with it. I was like, yeah, they do that. They absolutely do that. Yeah, too funny. My dog too. My dog sees all kinds of stuff. We know when something's in this house because she just starts following it and talking to it. Crazy amazing. Okay, so back to the feeling and the subconscious. There's always a feeling to whatever you have in form, right? Thought form, idea, concept, trauma, whatever the thing is, there's always a feeling attached to it. I have done a lot of my work through feeling alone because I didn't remember my past. So finding the feeling was always a key to me, and now it makes total sense. If you acknowledge what you're feeling, you can work with it. You got something to work with. Even if you don't remember the issue, you don't know the time period, you don't know the life cycle necessarily, whatever, however you want to look at it. If you can acknowledge the feeling, you have something to work with. So I always get a feeling of like the other shoe's going to drop. I don't even know how else to describe it, except that something bad's about to happen. I have had this feeling for years and years, and I just stop moving. I just kind of freeze in my own shoes. One of the things I have recognized is that in that happening, there's also a feeling of being, or not, well, it is a feeling. I can feel the pessimism about the subject matter that's going on around me. I get very pessimistic. I vocalize pessimistic things. Somebody will have something really positive to say, and I'm like, yeah, be careful. Always. And that has a feeling to it. My pessimism has a feeling. The other shoe's about to drop has a feeling to it. I don't know where they come from. I don't know what started it. I don't know when it started. I know a little bit more about it now because I've done some work with it. But what I have found, if you acknowledge it, and I'll give you some literal words to say, so have a pen and paper handy here in a second. When you acknowledge it, you can 100% do something with it. 100% of the time. So when you feel the feeling to whatever, and we'll play with this as we're going through here. When you feel the feeling, and I'm going to have you identify a feeling, you say out loud if you can. If not, just say it inside yourself, but say it very emphatically. You're going to say, I am feeling. For me, it would be pessimism. I am feeling pessimism because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. You just have to stop and notice. And it literally somehow just recognizing it, putting your finger on it and going, okay, I see you, flattens out the vibration of it. So if we go back to the vibrational concept, when there's something out there that's vibrating at a certain, let's use, fear, doubt, anger, sadness, pick your favorite low-level emotion, pessimism, anxiety, stress, whatever your thing is. It vibrates at a certain rate in your system. And when it shows up, you start feeling that. And you have to start looking around, wondering what's going on or what's about to happen or what situation you're in. So, yep, I'll say that again. So when I feel that feeling, I literally say to myself, I am feeling. So that's the first 3 words, very important part of the phrase. I am feeling X. Label your X. So in this moment, I want you to actually write in your top level feeling that you're like, it's always in the system. I always had this thing in my body. I always called it the undertow. There was this weird under feeling that was just always there that did not feel good, always there. And I never realized I could just single out that feeling and focus on it, and all of a sudden it would decompress. Totally decompress. When I added these words to it, all of a sudden the thing just kind of totally, it's like it flatlines in front of you. I am feeling, label the thing. So I'm going to keep using pessimism. I am feeling pessimism. Say it like you know it. Say it like I'm sick of this. I'm feeling pessimism because I choose to believe. I need to, I have to, it serves me somehow. That seems to be my favorite one. Everything serves me somehow. I must, I am feeling X because. So the second part of the phrase is because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. And then you just sit and feel and just notice. Now, if you chase that down, and I actually heard somebody else saying something very similar to this not too long ago. And it was the same exact idea of just calming your system down of all of the crazy wild feelings that you have to go through. I am feeling X because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. Yes. The 2 important parts of that are I am feeling and then label it because I choose to believe. Right? I need to, I must, it serves me. The idea of secondary gain from psychology comes into play. So pick your thing. Everybody get your thing in mind. And I'm actually switching to doubt. So pick your favorite low-level emotion that you feel inside your body. And then out loud, if you can, if not silently, just firmly inside yourself, I want you to say, I am feeling doubt because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. And feel it, right? So now we're just tracking the feeling. I am feeling doubt because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. And take a breath. Always use your breath. Breath is so cleansing. Use your breath. What did you notice? Anybody, what did you notice? And if you do this repeatedly, if you do this over and over, pretty soon you will find out that thing just doesn't exist. Melissa said, doubt was in my gut. Does it feel like it's flat? Does it feel like it kind of went neutral? And you can assign doubt a home. right? You can pretty much all of these things you can assign it's neutral now. Yeah, wasn't that easy? How long did that take? I was going to say you can assign doubt a home or whatever it is you're working on. What is it I'm doubting? And then I bring that into the awareness, right? I'm doubting I'm going to win my court case. I'm doubting my skills, doubting. And then I put this to it and I neutralize it, and I can assign any feeling I want to it. Excitement, hope, just leave it neutral, leave it in a neutral state. Anybody else? What did you notice?
Well, I was pretty calm, but I usually have silent anxiety, but I didn't feel it in the gut. I felt it in in my arms and legs, and I said the phrase, "I am feeling anxiety because I choose to believe it serves me somehow." But it maybe got a bit more silent, but I can still feel it on the edge of my awareness being there.
And I would do it again. This is one of the things too that's hard with some of this stuff is people think it's one and done. I wish I could say it was all one and done, but for me, it never has been. I've told the story 1,000 times. I think I worked on my anger for almost 2 years solid. And I would literally go driving. We drove a lot, but I'd drive across the country going somewhere looking for anger in my body. I would literally ask spirit, where's the anger in my body? Show me anger. And something like my fingernail would start hurting. And so I would go to my fingernail and I would do some kind of process to remove anger until, I mean, you really have to push me hard to get me angry at this point. It takes a lot to throw me over that edge. But if you keep working on it, right? Especially if it did something, that means you know that your body's accepting the process. And that's another thing with a lot of these techniques that we use is and this is true of everything, whoever said it, whoever got the information, whoever came up with it, sometimes it was just meant for them. Some of the things that I have used for myself, I don't really repeat out loud because it felt like it was just meant for me. And I don't know if it's going to work for you necessarily. Some of these things that I'm talking about right now are some of those things. Because now all of a sudden, spirit's like, just say it out loud. It'll probably help somebody else too. And that's pretty much what Mind Rewire and what my healing ministry is all about, is just the ability to help somebody else get there. Melissa says, once you neutralize a negative feeling, what do you do after? Feel something better. So now what do you want in the system instead? So we Jimmy rigged the system, kind of backwards rig it. So what do you want to feel instead? Name it. What do you want? Put it up there. You ask the question. Let's go. You neutralize the negative feeling. What do you do after? What do you want instead? Peace, love, joy. You're feeling neutral. Neutral's awesome. Peace. So now I want you to say, I am feeling peace. Say it like you mean it. And then let your heart open to it. You were feeling it before. So if we follow Melissa's track of doubt, it was in her gut. So now she's going to say, I am feeling peace. And in the little world of Mind Rewire, understanding that I am is the higher consciousness, that is your higher self. It is not the form of you, it's the higher self of you. I am feeling peace. You could say I am peace because your higher self is peace. It's not something you do, it's something you are. So steps and levels to this. I am feeling peace. And then you would say, because, so now we're giving reason to it. The brain loves reason. Yeah. Because I choose And you could leave off the believe part because I'm trying to get rid of all my belief systems. I choose peace. It serves me well. I choose love. It serves me well. I choose joy. It serves me well. I choose whatever you choose. Joy. I choose joy because I need to, because I want to, because I am joy. Spirit is, those attributes of your spirit are all of those things. So when you choose them, and if you can use the word believe, I choose to believe I am peace. It serves me well. Yeah. So try that and see what that feels like. I am feeling peace. I am peace because I choose peace, or because I choose to believe it serves me well. Peace serves me well. Feeling the fight of this feeling belief system. What does that mean, feeling the fight of this feeling? Feeling the fight of this feeling. Of the feeling of peace or the feeling you started with? So you're feeling the fight of the doubt. And that's where I would say, do it again. Stay in the battle. We're going to add to this. So if the fight's there, just kind of hang on for a second because we're going to keep adding to this. So if that gets you somewhere, keep doing it, that little process. We're going to move forward and then we're going to take up Shamina's doubt. So Psych K is based on the idea of a whole brain state that you can get into by crossing your arms and crossing your legs. One of the functionary parts of it was that there are 4 potential patterns that you can get into by crossing right over left or left over right at the arms and at the ankles. So there's 4 potential patterns you can create. When you feel something like doubt, and I would just say the word doubt, I would feel it, find doubt in your system, cross your arms, feel it. You want to find the place that feels the strongest, has a pull to it. And you'll find, like, if you press against it, there's going to be one way you can't move it. It'll feel totally different. And one way you can. And you see this? When I'm feeling doubt, if I press on this side, it doesn't really move. This is a muscle test. It's a basic muscle test. If I go on this side, I can move it. I want the strong way. So this side is the side I want. I do the same thing with my ankles. I cross and I press and I try and find the side that feels the strongest. You can, if you're not a good muscle tester, and a lot of people believe that they are not, so they can't be, but you could potentially go through all 4 patterns. And I would sit for like 2 or 3 minutes in each pattern, just feeling, or until the doubt feeling itself goes away, I would sit and keep feeling doubt. That's kind of the basic Psych K, that's their basic balance. And it goes on from there. I'll tell the Psych K story here in just a little bit because I still find it just absolutely amusing. But that's the basic balance. So if we add the idea of getting into a whole brain state, if my brain is only functioning from the area that knows the doubt and everything else is shut off because the doubt is so strong, I'm going to struggle, right? What did you say? Feeling the fight. You're going to fight. All right. So I'm going to use the same words that we just now used. I am feeling doubt. Because I choose to believe, and I don't know what word you use, but it serves me. But before I do that, I'm going to feel doubt. So everybody go back to your feeling. Philip, you could go back to your anxiety. Melissa, pick another one. Lance, wherever you're at, pick something. Whatever your feeling you're working on is, use that. Find it in your system. Let it get bigger. Don't fall into it. Don't become it, because that'll also start the fight. I am just merely observing that this feeling is in this body. This feeling, doubt, is in this body, Christy Renee. Yeah. And then I'm going to cross my arms and I'm going to find that pattern. Find your ankles, find your wrist, whichever side is feeling the strongest. And then I'm going to say, I am feeling doubt because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. Makes my eye twitch. I am feeling doubt because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. And I feel. You are sitting in a whole brain posture by crossing midline of your body, the magic of the human body. The right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. When you cross midline, I reach over, the body seeks stabilization. The brain seeks stabilization. If you give it no reason to stabilize, it will start to fall. Right? Whatever direction, if I'm holding a heavy weight in my hand and I come across my body, right? Body stabilizes, all these muscles turn on, and it pulls me back upright. That's just how the system works. If I'm doing that in relation to a feeling, in relation to a thought, in relation to a trauma, in relation to a life issue, whatever it is, I cross my arms and legs, my brain has to shuffle and start restabilizing. If I actually say, because I choose to believe it serves me, I want you to just pay attention in your brain when you say that. Because in my brain, it sounded absolutely ridiculous. So pay attention in your brain. I am feeling doubt because I choose to believe it serves me somehow. In a whole brain state, you will get different information. You sit here long enough, it will start to totally neutralize. If you stay a little bit longer, you will start to feel something else. You will start to feel a different feeling. You could potentially, if you're like, okay, this is taking way too long, change patterns. What you're doing is the left over right or right over left, whatever pattern you're in, ankles and wrists, you're literally chasing this feeling in neuroplastic form across your brain. It's the same idea as brain spotting, where we just sit and have somebody move their eyes until they find a point of pain. And then we'll have them think about something good and find a point that feels good. And then draw a line back and forth between those points from pain to good until it neutralizes the pain. The idea is wherever the eye was sitting that felt pain, there's something in the brain that's causing that feeling of pain, that's actually causing the representing issue in their life, right? That's the basics of brain spotting. What does that feel like now? Who was doing something? Whatever you were doing, what do you notice now? Feel free to turn on your microphones.
I'm a bit more calm now than I was before. I think the anxiety went much more away.
Nice. And I would literally sit, I would do this for days. I would come back to it and I would ask my body, where's the anxiety? And I would feel for it. Don't fall into it. Recognize it's the body's symptom to something, right? I feel anxiety because I choose to believe it's a symptom of whatever it is that happened. And in your belief system that needs to be there to support you will start going away. Yeah. Anybody else? Shamina, what are you noticing? Shamina's still playing in the field. Take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. The other thing I would say to you is consistency matters. If you are chasing spirit, if you are chasing ascension, you're trying to get out of the matrix, so to speak, right? You're trying to find that narrow way that gets you to creator, to source, to God, whatever you call it. double down on what you're doing. I have told a few people this now, and I am not joking. Double down on your work. If you are sitting anywhere, if I'm watching TV with my husband, I'm usually sitting in a whole brain state. And your hands can be, over your lap, can be over your heart, whatever. I'm in heart coherence. I'm sitting there while he's watching football, and I'm just like in my little zone, right? And he gets some of it because I'm in the zone and my bubble's pretty big. He gets it by proxy. If you are standing at the water cooler at your job, if you are sitting behind your desk at a computer, you can always have your ankles crossed. It's only half of the Psych K process, but it doesn't matter. It will still start to put you in a whole brain state. When you are walking anywhere, walk like a soldier, and maybe not so dramatic, but left leg forward is right arm forward. Right leg forward is left arm forward, right? So you've got this bilateral cross crawl going on that will put you in a whole brain state. If you watch people walk, a lot of times the left arm and left leg swing together. It is the craziest thing to start watching this and being like, oh my gosh. If you could, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Purposefully. And you should walk this way. It's actually the natural way to walk because it keeps your brain in a state of wholeness. It keeps both sides operating across the corpus callosum. Just walking that way. Go out for a 10-minute walk every day and walk like that purposefully. Every time I take my dog for a walk, that is how I'm walking. Yeah, I taught my dad how to walk that way because he did not walk that way. All right. So there's always ways to do this. Double down on it. In this period of time, I cannot express the importance enough. What's going on, what's happening, what's about to happen, all bets are off because you can get both sides of the story pretty easily. And who knows, right? Nobody has a direct answer. We only have speculation and tracking the sun and the moon and the stars, and it gives you this information, or tracking what people are doing on the planet and you get this information. Everything is changing. So double down on what you are doing. All right. You can't go wrong. Breathing, drinking water, double down on it. I'm telling you, water is a conductor. It moves electricity. Your body is electricity. Yeah. Breath is life. Breath creates. Double down on it, on all of it. All right. Any questions on the whole brain state idea? So now we've got the I am feeling because I choose to believe statement. And now you've got the idea of Psych K. Questions, thoughts, ideas, concerns? Anybody? Okay, on we go. Last week I was doing something, I think it was in this class. We were in a meditation. And I said, release your eyes from your brain. Release, it was something like that. Take your eyes off your brain, like remove them, detach them. Release your eyes from your brain. Did anybody do that? I had a few people call me because I did it in a few different rooms that I was in. Did anybody notice that? I'm going to say probably not because nobody's responding. So in this moment, take a second, take a deep breath. You'll still be able to see. It's not a literal disconnection. But I want you to disconnect your eyes from your brain. Breathe while you're doing it. Notice what happens. Excuse me, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds, a couple of minutes maybe. Release your eyes from your brain, detach your eyes from your brain. What do you notice?
Well, What I got impression, eyes in this sense became when I close my eyes and I focus on my eyes, it was like I'm focusing on my awareness. And it was like a symbolic act where I move my awareness away from the brain, from the mind. So
Nice.
it was how to say act of a decision. So I felt something. I cannot put it in words, but I did felt something interesting.
Yeah. And what you're literally doing, pretty much what you just said, if you were putting your awareness on the back of your eyes or on your eyes instead of in your brain, what it tends to do is shut your brain off. And people who are still really engaged in the brain interaction usually say things like, it just went dark. Everything just goes dark. Everything gets shut off. For a few seconds, they can't think. And they're just like, whoa, what was that? It's an instant way to throw you into a state of meditation. Silent, brain's quiet, everything's still. If my eyes, the vehicle that we use to see and discern all the stuff around us, if my eyes are suddenly turned off from my brain and all I see is that darkness, it throws you into an instant state of that kind of meditation. And then the game is just, it's like any meditation, just holding it there. If you did this for 1, 2, 3 seconds every hour, you're literally training your brain to shut up. You're training your brain to get quiet because you're taking your awareness off of the chatter or the clutter of the brain. Melissa said, my right eyes rolled to the top of my head and I was in a different state pretty much instantaneously. And rolling your eyes up will throw you into a high alpha state anyway. By itself, that will throw you into a high alpha state. So if you did both at the same time, if your eyes roll up and you're taking your vision off your eyes, off your brain, right? Detaching your eyes from your brain, as it were. All of a sudden, everything, what happened? So you rolled up and you were in a different state. What did you notice? What did you notice in the different state? The idea is literally trying to recognize that you are, because we always say we have to go meditate, right? You have to create peace, you have to find love, you have to cause joy, you have to, right? All of these things we have to go do. And meditation is no different. We have to go meditate. You have to go sit down and get all the conditions quiet and all, everything has to be right. What if it doesn't? What if I can just be walking down the street and detach my eyes from my brain? And for that few seconds, everything just goes silent and dark. I can still see where I'm going. It's not a literal detachment, but I'm literally just cutting off the energy and letting my brain get quiet for a minute. That state, that little bit of meditation, right? That idea is the same idea as getting into your heart for 3 minutes every hour. The more you do that, the more you stay in that state 3 minutes every hour, you're training the system, you're retraining and literally reprogramming your brain to be in that state instead of being in the state of your anxiety or your doubt or your overwhelm or your anger or your, right? Pick your favorite poison. Lance says, I do that often. Yes, you do. Me too. I felt like I could feel the energy move my head and there were no thoughts. Yes, congratulations. Yep. Silence. Silence will take you to enlightenment quicker than anything, or the idea of enlightenment anyway. Take a deep breath. Big, deep breath. So by itself, not thinking will start to pull apart the neuroplastic, right? Neuroplastic is built by a protein and a neuron that come together because you thought something repetitiously over and over and over and over. and it creates a leg of neuroplastic inside your brain. It looks like a tree branch, right? There's a tree branch kind of looking thing growing in there. Psychology calls it a loop. You have a loop of neuroplastic that just kind of spins in circles and circles. It's not really a loop. It's literally looks like a tree branch if you look on an X-ray or a brain scan of it, kind of idea. When you are not thinking, all of those things you are not thinking about start to come undone. So the farther they come apart, the neuron and the protein, it fires, right? The distance it takes to jump the synapse fires slower. The less I think about it, the further apart they come. The further apart they come, I start not to use the information anymore. And then literally you have parts of your brain that they used to say were just useless matter that was in your brain. Glial cells, thank you. The glial cells come and eat up that matter that's been pulled apart that you don't use anymore. Not thinking causes that to happen. Or the statement, something like, I am feeling because I have chosen to believe, will cause it to happen. Sitting in a whole brain state causes it to happen. If we use the idea, and this is what Spirit showed me last night, I was playing with this, the idea of detaching your eyes and falling into that silence. But before you go there, kind of ask Spirit, right? You maybe be heart coherent for this part. Get into your heart space and ask, show me something in my subconscious and the idea of my subconscious. Show me or give me a feeling that's causing an issue in my life that I might not be aware of. Or if you have a feeling that you've been fighting with, it's like Shamina, if you're still fighting with doubt, use doubt. Okay? So we're going to have an intention. My doubt, my kind of feeling of self-sabotage, whenever anybody says anything positive, I just automatically go looking, which people look at me and go, you don't do that. You would not believe. Not believe. It's crazy, unless I'm working through Spirit, and then there's none of that. But if I'm just like, you know, back in my meat suit, yeah, I go there hardcore. Melissa says, I am drawn to Muji meditation. He-eyed all about silence and getting into that place where there's no thoughts and more being, which is what this technique does. Yeah. Yeah, I love Muji. If you don't know who Muji is, look him up on YouTube. I love listening to Muji. I've listened to him for years. He just takes me away. Just even the sound of his voice, and I'm just like gone. He draws me in. So yes, no thoughts. No thoughts. Your present being, your true being, will start to emerge from that space of no thoughts. So for subconscious purposes, think of the thing that you want to release. Just watch this, because it's like an expedited time lapsed thing, right? Find the thing that you want to get rid of. So I'm gonna stick with doubt. I don't know if Shameen is still there with doubt, but I'm going to stick with doubt. And then I want you to, how did we do this before? So they're saying to use the time mudra. So you're going to put the pad of your thumb, this is a mudra, on this part of your small finger. So I'm right here. It's like a time mode, like it moves you through, you can go backwards or forwards through time using this, if you know what you're doing. And actually, even if you don't, it still does the same thing. So you've got what you're working on. I'm working on doubt. Got my time mudra on. And now I'm going to release my eyes from my brain. I am just observing the stillness, the darkness, going backwards through time, anywhere there's been doubt in my life. Observing, watching. You might see flashes of people, of incidents. It's probably going super, super fast. If it's going slow, tell it to go fast. You will notice the energy of it shift when you get to the end of it. So my energy, it's definitely slowed down to doubt. And then I'm just going to sit in that silence. I'm going to observe the feeling without the doubt. Observe the feeling without the doubt, or whatever you're working on. Stay there for a few minutes, just really paying attention to it. Keep all your focus on it. What is the feeling without? This should be fast. It shouldn't be slow. Once you get all through that time zone, you come into this feeling, boom, here I am. What does it feel like without the doubt? Take a deep breath. Keep noticing that new feeling. And now I want you to come back forward through time with the new feeling. So all the way back up to the age that you are now. Breathe, inhale, exhale. And then when you're ready, open your eyes. That should not be more than a minute process. It should literally be that fast. And when I open my eyes, I want to try and stay in the feeling. I want to hold on to the feeling. Again, repetition can mean a lot, right? If you still feel it, if you find at some point later on down the line, you feel the feeling again, or the idea, the thought, the trauma, whatever it is, comes back. I just do it on my left hand. You could do it on both, I suppose. Nope, can't. Do it on your left hand. That felt different is why I said that. I don't know what that one is, but it's not the same. That's interesting. The body is so, we have so many things plugged in that we don't even know about. Like ways to cause energy and ways to activate energy. We don't even know. That's nuts. And I got to figure out what that one is. Observe the new feeling. Observe the new feeling. If you want to add it into the brain really functionally quick, think of something you're working on. So what feeling did you come forward with? I came forward with joy. I just now felt like a 3-year-old kid, right? Giggling. I felt this like bubbling up, effervescent giggling inside me, which is definitely not typically me. But I feel it, feel it, feel it. To that feeling, I'm going to cross my ankles and my wrists. And I'm going to find the way that feels stronger. And I'm going to sit there just feeling that feeling. You can do this in front of a TV. You can do this while you're sitting at breakfast. You can do this at a dinner table, right? You can do this while there's people all over the place. You can do this on a park bench. You can do it on an airplane. You can do it, right? We make up all kinds. I'm so busy. I hear this from people all the time. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. Whatever. Find some time. There is time all over the place while you're sitting on the toilet, right? Put yourself through a process while you're sitting there, while you're sitting in the shower, standing in the shower, crazy powerful when the water's running. Go stand by a running river. Oh my goodness, crazy powerful. What did you notice? What did you sense? What did you see? So when you come back forward, that new feeling, right? Mine was joy, and I cross my arms and legs, I'm literally creating neuroplastic to it. My brain is having to restabilize itself to this feeling of joy because my brain does not know what to do with joy. Thoughts, questions, what are you noticing? What are you sensing? What are you seeing?
I like the mudra. They tend to work really well with me. and that I actually used doubt as well. And it actually truly brought a sense of, I guess, confidence, for lack of a better word, but it truly was there or is there.
Nice. So exercise it. Right? We do this, we get it implanted, then you go exercise it. Go do things that will make you, give you more confidence. Exercise the energy in your field, because we exercise the energy in our field our whole lives, and it's always been energy that we don't want. So once you get something you do want, go exercise it. Go do things that you can activate that confidence. At some point, right? These little magic tricks that we can do with ourselves. The mudras to me are just fascinating. I love mudras. I can teach you another couple here in a second, but let me tell you this part first. At the point that you literally get to where you are recognizing what it is you are instead of what you aren't, at the point that you can just point at that, all of this stuff goes down the chute anyway. And anything new incoming won't stick to you. Because your program, right, the field, your brain, everything will have a predisposition to your spirit instead of the physical nature, the construct, the form, right? So we're really, that's why I say double down. Everything you're doing, double down on it. Right? Do it more often, squeak out more time during the day, whatever you have to do, because in this period of time, it's going to get stronger and stronger, and it'll happen faster and faster. Melissa says, do the time mudra left hand, find the negative feelings, detach eyes from the brain. It'll change the vibe of negative feeling, then put in place the positive feeling within or while, yeah, in the whole brain state. Yes. Yes, yes. And it's easy. Should take less than a minute. None of these should take a lot of time. Just detaching your eyes from your brain and sitting in that stillness for a couple seconds, as often as you possibly can. It takes a couple seconds. Do it like every time you walk across a threshold in your house. Like put something into the system. Every time I go into a certain room, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Right? Or every time, I don't know, think of something that will give you some way to repeat that over and over. Because the more you do it, repetition causes the activity of the brain. Yeah, we've practiced being wrong at this long enough. Wrong's probably not a good word, but you know what I'm saying. We've practiced being our programmed self. Now it's time to practice being our natural self, being our internal self, being your true self. Take another deep breath. Big inhale, nice deep exhale. Let me give you another couple mudras just because they're fun. Yeah, two. I got two. I think I did videos on these, so if you didn't catch them, we'll do them here real quick just so you can see them. So whole brain state is crossing your arms and your legs, right? Just because you cross midline of the body, we get that interaction left to right, and all of a sudden the body and the brain have to restabilize to stay stable. Yeah. There are also points on your body, and I'm trying to think of the right words, but tapping, right? Remember tapping? I forget all the places they used to tell us to tap. I did tapping years ago, but it used to irritate the crap out of me. I won't even lie. Not so much now. This actually doesn't feel that horrible. But I was shown, so in a whole brain state, that idea, crossing midline, instead of having to use your legs, you can use your fingers. I come here. There's a technique called Crossinology's brain balance, brain body balance. I forget what she calls it. But I had a friend that did her whole yachty. And it's a long, drawn out, very arduous, tedious process, absolutely crazy. But it did some good. Some of it stuck, some of it didn't, like every process. I think it's the repetition. And that was so expensive to do. There was no way I could keep repeating it except to try and figure it out myself. So the idea of your brain, right? Got my brain in my hands. I cross and lock my fingers and my thumbs cross. Whatever your natural pattern is on your thumbs crossing, just stay there, whichever way they fall naturally. And then you're going to take the outside thumb and you're going to reach across to the knuckle of your first finger. So the thumb that's on the bottom, not the outside thumb, the thumb that's on the bottom reaches across and touches the knuckle on the closest finger. The other thumb, the one that's on the top, reaches across, and if you can, I never can get to it. You want to touch this knuckle, but I can never get there because my fingers don't do that. So this one's here. Oh, I'm being crazy. Not that one, this one. I can do that. How did I do that just now? Sometimes my brain just literally is like totally unplugged. Do you see what I'm doing? Inside thumb is on the lower knuckle of the closest finger. Outside thumb is on the top knuckle of the closest finger. Undo that. Shake it off. Shake that off. Shake your hands. Stomp your feet. Come back. No, don't come back. Feel yourself first. Feel yourself. Notice in your brain. Put your awareness in your brain and just feel. And we've already done some work in there, so it already feels different. Just feel what it feels like right now. Now come here. Bottom thumb goes to bottom knuckle, first finger. Top thumb goes to top knuckle on that first finger on the other side. Sit here. Feel. Just notice. Now you're going to tilt your hands kind of sideways. That outside knuckle, so it's this knuckle, or this thumb, the top knuckle is going to go in the ridge under your nose. The bottom knuckle is going to go in the ridge under your bottom lip. So it bridges your lip. Top knuckle is under your nose, bottom knuckle is under your lip. So we're hitting those two tapping points, but they're also points, they would acupuncture points, meridian points. And then breathe, inhale and exhale. And I usually start either saying, I love you, or I am, because there is something in the back of my brain that will start going, I don't know what's going on, what's happening. I am. Breathe, inhale, exhale. And feel, notice what your brain feels like. This is one of the fastest ways I know of to get back into a whole brain state and balance your system. I don't really know what all it does, and I don't necessarily remember what these 2 points are. I used to have a card sitting here that had it written on it. But you can look that up. You can see what they are. But it does way more on a level of getting everything back into alignment and functioning symbiotically throughout the system. And the longer you sit here, the more often you come back to it. I will notice, like I was at Costco today, and it was just funky feeling, and I started not feeling good, and there was, things going on. People get squirrely about stuff, whatever. And I just keep walking. I don't usually pay a lot of mind to it, but I felt something like attached to me. It was the weirdest feeling. And I was like, get off, get off, get off. And just stopped my cart and did this. And within a couple seconds, I felt fine again. Literally that easy. Literally that easy. There is no excuse for not doing this stuff. All right, so that was the one mudra. That's whole brain state. So you've got time mode, whole brain state. I don't even know what to call this anymore. I love this one. I even do this for other people. I'll say a person's name and go like this. And they'll tell me they feel different. Right? So I'm putting them in the loop of, yes, energy, right? Mudras are amazing. The last one I'm going to give you is the BG3 energy, and it's literally right hand. It's been tested to right hand. Left hand won't do it. Don't know why. I'm sure they do know why. I don't know why. Back 3 fingers. So those 3 fingers come down. Thumb comes to this knuckle. So my thumb comes here. Finger stays up. These fingers don't necessarily have to press into your palm. Because of my tendons and torn stuff in my hand, it won't do that. It still produces the same energy. BG3 energy is a combination of a higher aspect of gold vibration, iridescent red, iridescent's not the right word, and a negative green, or what they call negative green, because they don't have a word for it. I'll think of the word for red. It's the, somebody come up with it, type it in the chat box. It's the red light that you would sit under, that kind of red. It's the combination of all 3 of those energies together. When you do this and you just sit and hold it for a second, you will feel the energy of your body shift. So I should have told you not to do it yet. Don't pay attention to what I'm doing. Feel your body, notice what it feels like, and then come back here. If I'm on a highway and everybody's starting to drive erratically, which happens a lot lately for whatever reason, I will literally sit here. I'm driving with this hand and I'm sitting here with this hand like this. And always the phrase, I am the driver of this car. I am the protection of this car. I am being source, not Christy Renee. I am protecting, right? I am the vehicle of protection. However you want to word it. I always do that when I'm in my car. And now I hold BG3 energy. It fills up your space with higher level energy just by nature of what it is. And so by nature of what it does, it gives you an easier way to interact with the space around you. Take a deep breath. Questions, thoughts, concerns, ideas. What do you feel like? What do you think you feel like? What do you know? Anybody? All right. Everybody's deep in meditation. I'm going to leave you there. When you get up, oh, Melissa's typing. When you get up, make sure you're walking around feeling your new self. Don't go back to the old self. Stay the new self. Yeah. Melissa says, I just felt so much joy from that one. That's awesome. It's a different level of vibration because it's not, you can't see it. These colors are unseeable, right? They're those kind of higher level colors. And the energy, the vibration, and the sacred geometry that comes with them, totally off the cuff. I feel like my energy field was cleared. Yeah. This is how fast you can get back into a state of wholeness. Boom, boom. It's not easy. I'm being dramatic because I am full of joy right now. Wonderfully, wonderful, very different vibration. Yes. Yeah. And I think at some point, the BG3 energy, and I can give you more information on it later if you want, but the BG3 energy is part of what's lifting us out of this, this space that we're in right now, this reality. I absolutely think that. All right, anybody, questions, thoughts? Was that helpful? Anything else? Practice, practice, practice. I will try and get this posted tonight so you can come back to it and watch it again. And Repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. I cannot stress that enough. Double down on what you're doing. If you did this for 6 straight months, like pick a few of these little things or make this into some kind of your own program, whatever worked the best for you, pick pieces out of it that work the best and turn it into some kind of program that you're doing daily, some kind of ritualistic whatever that you're doing maybe a few times during the day. However it is you work it out, right? Through structure it through your day somehow. I promise you 100% you will not be the same person in 6 months. My guess is actually that you won't be the same person in 4 months, 3 months, 2 months. Yeah. So play with it. Next week, I have no clue what we're doing, but we'll find something. Invite people in. If you know other people that this might help, feel free to invite them in. The more people we can get working on a different track, I think and I think too, like inside this group, when there's like 3 or 4 people working on like doubt, we're all doing doubt at the same time. It creates a higher cleansing faster. I think the energy just shifts. It just moves when we can do that. So invite people in. All right. I will talk to you next week if there's nothing else. Oh, Philip opened his.
Yeah, I have a question about programming of Psyche, that we work. Usually, at least how I understand it, it usually works with affirmations. So we also do that crossings and all that, and then a person does some affirmation.
So when I took the classes, I forgot to tell this story. When I took the classes, the lady who taught our class was very high level Psyche, whatever she is, trainer, teacher, right? She was like the highest. And I did basic, pro, and advanced, like back to back over 3 weekends because she was teaching them one after the other. And I was like, I'm all in. We went through, I think we were in the second level of the second classes, the second weekend. And she told us she was going to do a surprise balance. And everybody's like, ooh, right? Surprise balance, whatever that means. So everything that they do is called a balance of some sort, right? So the basic balance is a whole brain state posture and using an affirmation. You can use an affirmation. That is how they teach it. And they also teach other things. You have to check all kinds of muscle testing, checking all kinds of stuff. But she brought this girl up to the front of the room and she goes, think about an issue. Think about whatever it is you're trying to work on. Think about that. So she thought about it for a second. And the lady goes, cross your arms and legs. Lean against the wall if you need to. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes. And she literally picked up, and I'm not kidding about this blue diamond looking stone, but this is not it. This is something else. Held it up in front of the girl's face, told her to look through it, take another deep breath. It's gone. What? That wasn't Psyche. That was nothing except the crossing your arms and legs. And she was like, surprise. I kid you not, in my head, I heard, surprise, you don't need any of this shit. The secret.
I do believe you. Oh, I
Let
mean,
me finish. Let me finish real
sorry.
quick. Let me finish real quick. The secret to it, and you will see this across all kinds of other techniques, is the state of getting your brain to communicate across hemispheres. Whether you're tapping, whether you're crossing your arms and legs, bilateral stimulation, you've got headphones on, right? EMDR, it works exactly the same way. And you feel the thing you don't want, and then you create the thing you do want. It works the same through all of those modalities. None of it's any different. And when she did that, that was the thing that made me go, oh, wow. Okay, I got it. And I knew it before she said it. I was like, I know exactly where you're going with this. None of this other stuff is even necessary. If you understand that here's what I've got that I don't want. I'm going to put my brain into a state of wholeness. It turns out your heart will do the same thing. You could take that thing and drop it into the center of your heart. Your heart will transduce it in an instant, give you a different feeling. And we didn't go over that one, but an angel showed me this a long time ago. Your heart will give you a different feeling, and then you take that different feeling and create a new story to it. Whatever story you want, create a beautiful new whole story to it. But it's all the same thing. It's literally that simple, but we have to keep putting all this stuff to it that's just not necessary, because that's how people make money. Once you get it and you know you get it, you'll just be like, seriously? Because then, right, you've taken off the mask, the program goes away. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. What were
Yeah.
you trying to say before? Go ahead.
No, I just want to say when a miracle, well, what we call miracle happens in this world, it usually is an instant change. But
Yes.
problem is our belief, which means we have to do A, then B, then C happens. But when a person gets in some higher form of consciousness where he skips all the little parts and just change from A to Z.
Yes. Yeah, what are you choosing to believe? Because I choose to believe. And they talk about limiting beliefs, right? The limiting beliefs that are the problem. Every belief is limiting. Get rid of all of them and then see who you are. See what shows up. Yeah, you're exactly right. It should be that fast. This is what I am. Not anymore. This is what I want. This is who I am. This is what I do. From the physical nature, from the programming to the spirit. It should be that easy. All right. I'm jumping off. What time is it? 4:30. I thought I was going to be so good and stay in an hour today. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Christy. It was wonderful. I don't mind that it took longer always than you planned. I like to be here with you.
Oh, good. I appreciate that. Thank you, Philip. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome, Melissa. Thank you for being here. Even the good beliefs are limiting. Yes, they put you in a box, right? Good beliefs will put you in a box. What if there's no beliefs?
But if I may, in a material sense, if we look from ego self, we always have a perspective, and perspective is by itself limiting. Perspective is also a belief. I
Yes,
believe in me, I believe in you, I believe I'm such and such. And that's all, again, question of forms, which you spoke before. But everything in matter has a form, even ideas. Ideas have a form.
they're all part of the construct. It's all part of the program.
Yes.
I want the part that's not part of the program. That's what I want to wake up. That's what I'm seeking. That's what I am waking up. That's what I've become, is that I operate from that part, not the, you still have to do this part, but you have to participate.
I'm also looking for that part, but I would be lying if I would say that I even know what that is or how that would look. It's like I'm trying explain what infinity is, but infinity from human mind it can be only explained like a mathematical paradox as a line that goes into infinity, but it's expression, it's not a real infinity.
But I would tell you to get rid of that expression, take the label off of infinity, and then sit with that. It's just like the tree. Take the label off the tree and then sit with the tree with no label attached. Now what is it?
No, it's something.
Or it's nothing. Or
So
just,
it's not, if I observe it, then it's not nothing.
from where are you observing it?
uh, with my being, with my eyes, with
Hey,
um,
down. Hey,
fate.
my son just came home, so my dog's going crazy.
Oh.
Yeah, so when I observe the tree, I do it from, I'm in heart coherence, right? I'm in a coherent state and I'm observing it through the eyes of my spirit. I still see it with these eyes. The information that it's a tree is still there, but I'm looking at it through my heart.
Yes, it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah.
Truly.
Well, I mean that is higher form of consciousness, but it's still a matter of perception. You can feel love and judgment and all that, but you still have a distinction between you and tree.
It's a practice that you
Yeah.
have to do repeatedly until it washes it all away. No different than the subconscious. It's part of the program. Play with it. I guarantee you will look at things totally different.
I
Just
will.
playing with the idea of letting go of a label like infinity. Is that the word you just used, was infinity?
Yeah, among many other fancy words.
Because think about what happens when you say a word, your brain goes looking up meanings.
Yes.
The brain will go looking up definitions and places where you've had interaction with that kind of concept or idea or tree. And it
Oh,
gives you information based on what you from your past. But if I'm pushing my past away, which is part of the game, right? Of getting rid of that to get rid of the identity that I don't want, to become the inner me that I do want, the tree no longer is a tree. There's something else. And it's just the game of standing there and just realizing that it's not what it seems. None of this is what it seems. None of it is.
oh.
And if you
Uh,
get analytical, so I'm not an analytical person. My mind has definitely never been analytical. I can just stand there and be in the presence of this tree spirit, call it whatever you want to call it, and just be in total awe. It just literally blows my mind. But I am not an analytical person, and I'm not seeing through the perception of my eyes and my brain. I'm seeing through my heart. So what it turns out being and how it can interact with me. I learned from the tree, from an aspen tree, how to stop pain, how to stop physical pain from standing next to an aspen tree. Blew my mind. I was like,
well,
this
well,
even happen.
that reminds me,
Go ahead.
most shamanic practices was where shamans learned from the plants, various practices, secrets, and so on.
Yeah.
So it's not that strange.
Oh, it's not strange at all, but I think it's strange in the world where you don't do it.
Yeah, it's strange in today's world where we changed real knowledge for many nice and crazy ideas which became new truths.
It's very
As
true.
as many people today say, science is a new religion.
Not mine.
Not mine also, but
Mine. Yeah, no thanks. After Fauci said he was science, I was like, ew, I don't want any part of it. No, thank you. Melissa says, if you keep doing this and more of what you think is what you falls away, you falls away, think of you falls away. Oh, what you think of you falls away. Do you still have to do the life recapitulation? This is kind of a life recapitulation. It's interesting, isn't it? I thought the same thing. I was like, this is all kind of the same thing, just a different way of doing it. And I think like there's a place for a life recapitulation. But I think time is moving so fast. I don't know. I stick to the quicker. That one thing we did where we time moded back, right, with the feeling till the feeling stopped and then came back forward with the new feeling. That was absolutely kind of the idea of the life recap, or what was the other with the path of negation? It's just a sped up version of the path of negation. Yeah. And it works in this period of time. It might not have worked 10 years ago, right? Because we are under a different sun, we're under a different moon, we're under different, like it's just different in this period of time. So take advantage of it. Yeah. All right. I got to go. I love you.
Bye. See you.
This has been fun. We'll see you again next week.
Yes.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.